Hey y'all, welcome back to Blendverse Review. Today I brought something else from different horror series. This is one of the best, or easily the best for me at least, sci-fi based game that you're able to play out there. It's Dead Space, Isaac Clarke figure from Playarts Kai. So this is the Dead Space 3 version of the suit, though my favorite suit of Isaac Clarke is the very first one. That shit is very iconic, and the design of the thing is just much cooler. It's kind of like, those Iron Man vibe. Mechanic, engineer, that's what he is. But yeah, here's the front side of the box. The back side, you get really nice image of Isaac Clarke here standing from the back with the rifle over here. Left side, Dead Space 3. And when you open the box, you get a nice description of this, like plasma cutter, pulse rifle, description of Isaac Clarke. And this seems to be a short, story or summary of Dead Space 3. A really nice detail for the Isaac Clarke figure, the moon, and the spaceship. Yeah, the Ishimura thing from Dead Space 1 was legit, but I just love the first one than the third one. But this has to be my second favorite suit. When the first one, very much prefers the first suit. The third one's still good, and I really do love this figure. And inside this thing over here, you get the Isaac Clarke figure, the plasma cutter, pulse rifle, and 2 separate fist hands. Really cool. Top of the box, bottom of the box, nothing much actually, but yeah, pretty cool. Let's get this thing open. So when we first open the box, we get obviously the action figure of Isaac Clarke, the Playarts Kai version, if you know what I mean. The detail has changed for some parts. I mean, most of the parts generally, because this thing's supposed to be like a whole winter coat in the game, but they got the joints exposed and things that made it a bit cooler, in my opinion. And we have the plasma cutter, classic weapon, and yeah, really cool detail. You get 2 separate interchangeable fists over here. Then you get the pulse rifle over here as well. I don't know why mine is slightly diagonally attached. It's not straightened, which is kind of fortunate, but yes, here it is. And about the bootleg of this figure, actually, I never managed to find a bootleg for Isaac Clarke figure, for this Playarts Kai version at least. So, Playarts Kai, there are shit tons of different bootlegs for especially Marvel series that they released from this company, but for Isaac Clarke it doesn't seem like there's any bootleg available. If so, please let me know down in the comment below. But yeah, for now, from what I've researched to get this guy hard and stuff, because I got this guy for a really good price. It was like $50 ish. Now it's skyrocketing in price for this guy, but really cool stuff. So yeah, anyways, let's have a look to the head sculpt. So really nice. I'm not sure how this guy even sees throughout his helmet, that's super thin layered. You see these Adidas vibe, 3-striped visionary part in the helmet. You know what I mean? But yeah, really nicely done. I love this metallic bronze-ish painting on this head. Over here, the head part. At the sides, really nicely done. All those engineer based helmet, and just I love how mechanic it looks for this figure. Another nicely done bronze painting, and at the top, I don't know, it kind of feels hollow compared to the other side of this helmet, because at the back side, the front side, things seems to be more mechanic, but it's really empty at the top. But it looks quite cool in my opinion still. And for the neck part, it seems like it's actually exposed because you can see his Adam's apple. And I always try to put this Adam's apple in the middle, which I find it kind of difficult because every time you articulate its head, the Adam's apple on my figure keeps rotating sideways. So I have to, get it back to the center every time I display it. But yeah, with the coat, really nicely textured. These fur, nice black wash between the details over here, and it's really roughly textured for this figure. as well. The backside, the health gauge bar, should I say, this thing's really nicely painted. You get the cyanish color and dark blue mixed together. Same for the right side of the back over here. Really nice and interesting design choice they went for. So do the color scheme, and I just really do love how mechanic the suit looks. Yeah, here it is. And you see his thing over here at the front side of the suit, really nicely done. The suit with bit of, scratch marks or like kind of like white weathering that's done over here. Get these suits like string covering his parts over here at the front where he gets all the messages and stuff. The painting on this thing could have been better. Definitely, because it's just white rectangular trace with the like ocean blue-ish color at the center. So it could have been better, definitely. Because NECA version of Dead Space 1 figure I have has this really tiny letter written on this screen thing, and it's actually translucent on the figure. And that figure lights up as well, which I haven't tried on my figure. I have to get the battery first, but still, it's really cool. And even though this guy's almost twice the size of NECA, because this is about 12 inches tall, the NECA one's like 6 or 7 inches. It's really unfortunate that this thing doesn't have any letter written on the screen thing over here that he sees in the game. Still nicely colored bronze everywhere, silver-ish, darkish silver. And the shoulder part's really nicely done. Same for the arm pads over here. Nicely textured, smooth, nice, equally patterned. Really cool. And I love how the color just kind of, the transition of the color over here, it kind of fades from dark brown to like, like creamy yellowish color, like from those lemon cake, you know what I mean? And yeah, but the thing is, the joint is in darkish brown or gray color, so that kind of doesn't match yours. But when you move this thing and cover the joint, like move the elbow like this, you don't really see the joint, so that's fine. But yeah, when you keep it standing still, it's kind of not too great because of the exposed joints. And there are just so much detail in this figure. You see generally, like, the hands are really nicely sculpted too. Though you might get a bit of scuff on this rifle holding hand. And yeah, really nicely done belt. Same for the other arm. The hand is kind of differently sculpted, because this is supposed to hold a rifle to shoot. This is like the second hand he used to, get the balance done while he's holding his weapon. The waist, really nice. Same for the backside. You get really nicely done detail for the bags over here. Really nice. And this is a rubbery material for the waistline over here, so that you can articulate it as much as you want. So it kind of gives you those extra limit for the leg articulation. So much detail at the leg as well. There are too much to talk about, honestly. And it's amazing. That's really a good thing for a, hardcore collectors like myself. But I'm more of a vintage figure collector, so yeah. Another bronze color that shines, that glows really amazing. The exposed joint is gigantic on this thing. But still, like, the feet, the lower leg area is what just, makes me say wow every time I look at this figure. There's so much detail into this. You get these spiky things as things I assume, like, this is supposed to be, to hold himself on its place wherever he's standing, because Dead Space 3, it's snowing outside and stuff. Really cool. And yeah, inside the leg area, not much detail inside, just wholly painted black and stuff. So yeah, this figure detail is just really great. When we get to the interchangeable fists or hand over here, this is the only interchangeable hand they gave you. I have extremely hard time fitting this into its peg, because this thing is just extremely tight, even though I used hairdryer to get it done. So really unfortunate, this is stiff. And I feel like the fist could have been slightly bigger for the figure as well. This felt a bit smaller than the open-handed versions. And when we look at the, what was this? Should we have a look at the pulse rifle first? But I mean, yeah, why not? Let's have a look at the bow first. So plasma cutter first. Compared to size, of course, this is like mostly one-handed-ish kind of weapon, though sometimes you might use it second hand, like two hands. But yeah, this thing articulates because, you know, you can change the direction thing in the game. You can shoot it like this or like this. I prefer to shoot like this to, you know, cut off the limbs, necromorphs in the game. Pretty cool. You can separate these pegs as well, so that's pretty cool. Nice metallic silver color and darkish black wash on this metallic color. That's really nice. Almost like a yellow-ish color for the other parts as well. Nice. It's generally nice. And thing is, it's kind of big enough because this is a 12-inch based weapon, figure-based weapon, so you can hold it yourself and then, you know, pretend like you're the Isaac Clarke here and shoot necromorphs with one finger if you want to. But yeah, just make sure your fingers don't get stuck and break this part that's kind of fragile. The rifle over here, this thing doesn't seem to articulate. No, not at all. But you know, just be careful. It's really lightly weighted, so it doesn't give too much pressure on the figure. And even though supposing this thing weights quite heavy, you know, compared to the other weapon like this one over here, the plasma cutter, the figure itself is ratchet jointed for Playarts Kai figures. So yeah, it makes those clicky sound every time you articulate, and it's gonna hold its place for a while, a really long time, so you don't really have to worry about the pressure with this Isaac Clarke holding this thing. But really nicely done detail, almost the same color scheme, but as the Isaac Clarke, darkish silver and silver, like bronze-ish yellow, brighter than what this thing over here. And yeah, really nice generally. And I do love this weapon as well. But you know, just this plasma cutter is just really classic, like since the first Dead Space. Like, this thing is the best and most iconic weapon of Isaac Clarke, you know? Yeah, really cool. So as far as the articulation goes, his head goes up about that much. His head goes down about that much. There is a pivot over here, and of course he turns side to side. And yeah, this Adam's apple apparently that I told you at the beginning of the video kind of annoys me. But yeah, here's the thing though. So the problem every time I articulate its arm is that the peg is just extremely thin. You know, I feel like even Marvel Legends has thicker peg for its arms attached to the body than what this Isaac has. This is a 12-inch figure, and I really wish they put it a ball joint instead. This you know, really fragile looking tiny peg for the arm. It's really scary to articulate its arm all the time, especially this his right arm for my figure. It's kind of loose and really stiff to move. So yeah, anyways, his arms goes 360, rotates, of course, ratchet jointed, goes up about that much, and there's this butterfly joint that you can extend so that it's easy to pose him when you know, make him in a pose where he uses his weapon. So ratchet clicky joints about 90 degrees. You can keep it straight like that. Really cool stuff. So his wrist goes up and down. There's a swivel too. You can't make him look forward that much, backwards a bit more, but I'm just being really careful with my figure because this thing's overpriced nowadays and I do not want to break it and have to make myself buy this thing again. There's a split for the leg, which can go a little bit more if you give it a little stress, but I would not recommend you to do that. Same forwards, backwards. I don't think there's a swivel at the thigh, or even though it does, it's extremely stiff. Double jointed knee. This exposed joint, when you fully, articulate its like almost 90 degrees, it's just really, it's exposed way too much, You don't even see a pad because of the knee pad over here, but when you articulate it, it's massive. Wish they could have done something on this part when it comes to detail and hiding the exposed joints. But yeah, nice. The feet up, down. There's a bit of pivot, and of course there's a like side-to-side rotation too. Just very stiff. And though it's really nice figure, and I do love this Isaac Clarke's, just really cool. Now if you make him hold his weapon like this, it just looks really cool, even though you just make him stand simply. And yeah, I do not really recommend you to play too much when it comes to the articulation of this figure, because that's really fragile, it seems, especially for the arm section. And I am a type of guy to, give a great care with most of my figures, because yeah, I give them extra care with this thing called gun primer glazer that really gives all of my figures extra coat so that it protects from the sunlight, so that you don't get the figure's color changed for a long time and things, which I'll have to see if it's actually effective. And it also helps you so that the dust removal process is much easier. So yeah, I always spray it on my figure, but it doesn't change anything like the color scheme on the figure every time I spray it. It keeps the glossiness or those matte coated things, like it just keeps its original color. It doesn't do anything. But yeah, here it is. Really nicely done. Cool weapon. Yeah, really cool. Same goes with the rifle. When it holds, it just simply looks really cool on its own, just standing on your shelf displayed like this. I know you can use his other arm over here, use this butterfly joint, so that you can, make him look like he's running with this rifle towards the creatures like necromorphs out there. But yeah, even though you just make this guy stand on his own, it's just extremely cool. And I really do recommend this figure if you are part of Dead Space fans like myself out there. No matter if you're hardcore or new to Dead Space, this has to be a must-get figure. But just try to find a good price with this figure, because this thing I think costs over, I think it's from $100 to $200 on eBay nowadays, which is definitely not worth the money to pay that much for this figure. I would say if you manage to find any good deals, like $50 ish around there, I think that's gonna be a great deal, and that's the money that you're gonna feel like it's worth paying to get this figure on your shelf. But yeah, anyways guys, yeah, thanks for watching. And yeah, we'll come back with another figure review.